We've lined up the top stars from Hollywood and from all over the world to entertain you on a giant screen with the few colorful motion pictures you've been hearing about and reading
It's
about.
showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
We're delighted to have you with us. They're driving theater.
You'll find something to please you to add to your evening's enjoyment.
Is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
Hey gang, what's up? It's Monday night. It is July 19th, 2021. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the Drive-In Speakerbox. I'm your host, the Boom Operator.
I'm the Grip.
And yeah, we're here. We're here. It's another week. We saw movies. I mean, Jake just rolled in, so I didn't get a chance to ask him what he saw. So,
Well, we talked about it last week, what I was going to see.
but I didn't know if you actually followed through.
Yeah, of course I did. I always follow through for our viewers, man. They're talking about Dynasty Warriors, bro.
So, all right, well, he saw Dynasty Warriors. I went and saw The Space Jams, and also the last of the Fear Street 1666, the third of the trilogy that came out this week. So, going to be talking about all those films this week and more. So, yeah, thanks for joining us. Shout outs. We got already Vince and Sam in the chat there on Twitch and Facebook. So if you guys haven't already joined into the chat, make sure you do so on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. We've gotten some new viewers. Got a couple of emails over the week, so that was pretty cool. And actually, shout outs to I have a cousin that lives in Australia that actually had never heard of this show before, but just now started tuning in Australia. Can't ever make the live stream because it's like at 100 o'clock in the morning or whatever, so he can't get in, but he listens to the podcast. So if you can't make it to the live stream, share it with your friends, subscribe on Spotify or Tuned In or Google Music or Apple Tunes or whatever the hell you do to get your sound on, and spread the love. So yeah. What's new, Jake?
Nothing, man. Just living LIVIN, bro.
A quarter mile at a time, or
Yeah,
are
hell
you
yeah,
done with
all the
that?
time. No, I'm not. Just because Fast 9 is not good doesn't mean I don't like Fast and Furious, man.
So you haven't given up the Church of Furious?
Nah,
You're still on board with that?
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well,
You ever see those movies? They're awesome.
yeah, they're all terrible. In the news this week, we'll start with some stuff that I saw that was hilarious. You know, everybody's getting on board with these streaming services. Everybody's getting a streaming service now. You know, everybody's getting a little Paramount Plus is a thing, HBO Max is a thing, Disney Plus is a thing. What was the one? The one that the DC verse, they tried to do that and they were like, not such a good idea, and then they canceled that. Shudder, you know, and FX Plus. Now, which seems like a April Fool's joke gone wrong, CNN Plus is launching later this year, or 2022 actually. But yeah, CNN Plus, I guess.
Isn't CNN already rolled into one of the other streaming services?
No, it's gonna. According to the news article, it says this service will launch alongside the existing CNN channel in the first quarter of 2022, hosting 8 to 12 hours of live programming, multiple original series, and something mysteriously described as an interactive community that will be exclusive to the service. So, you know, they've had deals with pre-existing cable distributors in the past, which I think has become a problem, but they can't take any of their existing television content to streaming, but they don't want to feel like they're the last kids on the block not getting a streaming service because everybody has a streaming service. So CNN Plus, they're going to be making other content for consumers that have already cut free from cable, but will now have access to CNN, but it will not be CNN because it'll be other CNN things because the cable companies have complete dominant control over what's on CNN right now. I don't know what Jeff Zucker is thinking here, that this is an idea that anybody asked for, but yeah, man, CNN Plus, get ready for it. It's coming to a bill that you'll want to cancel after the first free month near you. Yeah, I don't get it.
Sam said we need to have a drive-in Speakerbox Plus.
Well, that means we have to be up here more than the like allocated hour a week that we're here. That means we have to create. Remember when we tried
That means
Patreon?
all of you would need to give us $10 a month.
Well, we tried that on Patreon, and people were giving us money, and then we're just like, well, sorry, we don't have anything extra for you because we're lazy. And what happened to that fancy tablet you're supposed to be editing all these videos on for?
It kicked me out of Adobe, which is
that was only like yesterday because I logged you out because I had to use it.
Well,
so don't be acting like you ain't had it for a month.
You gotta run through the tutorials. I'm new to computers.
It's 2021, bruh.
I know, and I did everything on my phone for like 12 years.
Man, well, I'm just saying, big game talking over here, and I don't see no edited clips yet.
I'll show you the one that I tried to make after doing the tutorial.
Let's just show it now. Show it to everybody.
Not showing it to
it's a live unboxing. We're gonna do it.
It's coming soon to a YouTube near you.
Yeah, Vern says you get 1 hour, and that's all we got. And Vince, he's like, we're so close to subs. Like on Twitch, if we just had like 2 or 3 more hours of content every month, we would be so close to subs. And honestly, like, I mean, we could do it. I just need to come up here and like stare at the camera. And be like, all right, ask me a question. I don't know.
I'm telling you, yeah, stream games. I'll stream on my channel, and you stream on this channel, and
well, your channel streams don't add to my the drive-in
that's
Speakerbox.
why you stream on this one.
No, that's why we both need to stream on this one, so we get the collective time of streaming. You ding dong. We got to pool our resources together.
Yeah, but we play video games same time.
No, we don't. Not always. You play way more video games than I do.
Yeah.
So it's just we can split screen. Like I don't know. Twitch is a thing. We could do a party raid, I guess. Isn't that how they had to do it on Twitch? This needs to be our channel so we can get the subs. I don't know. Vince says Bo added the live graphic in hours, and Jake said it would take months.
I didn't say anything like that. But
you mean
if it
this? Look at that.
If it was me doing it, maybe so. I don't know. I don't know how to.
Look at these fun things I can do.
I don't know how to computer.
Yeah, I can do with a push of a button.
I'm learning.
And anyway.
I'm learning.
Chris says we don't need computers when we got family.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's what I'm saying. Hey, you know what? Talking about weird streaming services and networks doing things. Did you see that Dish Network signed a deal with AT&T, making them their preferred service instead of T-Mobile? And so now there's the rumor mill got some new fuel that Dish and DirecTV are going to merge. They're going to merge like people
who still
thought they would.
Who
still
still
uses
has Dish? I mean, I guess like trailer park people still use Dish because it's like, I'm going to live out off the grid away from the government, but man, I still need my CNN.
I feel like that portrayal of people
is 100% accurate. Like, is that what you're about to say? Because it's the only thing that could have followed that sentence.
It's going to be way more PC.
No, fuck them. Like, if you're not gonna you can't live off the grid and still like watch Tiger King. You can't. Those things are mutually exclusive. The grid is Tiger King, man. If you want to live out on your trailer with your Dish Network and then shotgun politics when somebody was like, you pay taxes and water bills, and I go, no, man, I need water to flush my doo-doos down. And you're like, well, it's got to come from somewhere. Screw your pipes. Show yourselves. It's like, no. Where's my dish? And
someone clip that. I need water to flush my doo-doo down. Vince, where you at? Clip that.
Anyway, I don't know. I mean, have you ever used satellite dish? Like,
no, I tried to once, and my apartment was like, nah, tough. Because when I first moved into my apartment, I thought having Uverse would be sick. Because Uverse had a lot of international channels, and y'all know how like my foreign films. And it had a bunch of stuff that you just can't get on cable. It was a lot faster at the time. I was tired of dealing with Cox already because that's the cable option that you have around here. So I was going to get Uverse, and then because of where I live, they're like, oh, you are denied access for forever. And I was like, well, I'll just get satellite instead, since DirecTV was a new acquisition of AT&T, and I got told I wasn't allowed to do that. So
because depending on where you live, you can't just like attach dishes to the outside of your building.
Yeah.
And the dish guy, one of my good friends used to install Dish. Shout outs to Zach if he's watching. But you'd have to climb up in your house and like calibrate it with the satellite, and you'd like point it up there and be like, and every time it would storm and your dish would like get out of alignment, you have to call the tech, and they'd have to pointed at the right space. Like, if you really think about satellite dish, it's kind of neat. Like,
It is kinda neat.
It's, you know, it's from space.
Sam pointing out that his grandpa had the big dish. So did my grandparents. They had the one that was big enough for like me and my brother and cousin to like climb on
Talk
and
to
around. And
aliens.
inside. Yeah, and it was like the scene in GoldenEye where he drops Sean Bean. Like, yeah, in my
As your
grandparents.
kids, you're like, sliding down
in
the
my
dish.
grandparents' backyard. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about like how post-apocalyptic that kind of shit looks, by today's standards,
Thanks,
like
Vance.
when you go back and you watch these like futuristic post-apocalyptic movies, and they're like these giant satellite dishes in you know someone's backyard because they're communicating with aliens. It's like, yeah, dude, that was like '94. What are you talking about? Like, that's old news. But think about that technology. That's bananas that people had those things in their backyard to communicate with space technology. Like, man, we take everything's amazing, and we just take it all for granted.
That's true. You know what though? Talking about technology and the amazing future and things of that nature. Today is your last day to get on for GalaxyCon if you want to get an autograph or a video interview or anything like that from William Shatner.
Really? Where is GalaxyCon?
Yeah. You just look up GalaxyCon. They have a website. You can put in an order for an autograph or a video session or like a video message or whatever. So since they are still being COVID safe for a lot of that, it's all you put in the order, and a lot of it's just done over the internet. So a lot of technology inspired by Star Trek will bring Star Trek to you with Bill Shatner. There you go. In case you missed him,
Boy Shatner.
in case you missed him on Shark Trek this past week during Shark Week, where a nearly 90-year-old man, if he's not 90 already, jumped in the water with sharks because someone's like, you know, it'd be sick.
Because he's the king of jumping shark. Oh,
Let's take this ancient man and throw him in the water. But hey, old William Shatner, don't look bad for his age. He's still getting along pretty good.
Because
yeah,
money.
If you want a autograph or Q&A sesh or whatever, today's your last day for that.
What if, like, in Ferengi culture, like when William Shatner died, everybody could like bid on parts of his body, like his organs and stuff, and you could like
Ferengi, man.
Dude, the Ferengi are fun, man. But then you could like, I have William Shatner's gallbladder, and you know, it's like autographed, and I don't know how. I guess he could just go around and autograph jars before his death, and then like canoptic jars, and it's like, okay, well, the Shatner family trust, you know, the gallbladder's like $1 million, and you know, a lung's like $1 million, and like think about the people that would probably pay for that stuff. Humans are weird, man.
I think you've gotten into your gruesome movies too much.
Dude, I'm just saying. I mean, somebody out there is gonna pay for that, you know. I've seen the internet. Let's see. What do we got in the comments here? Sam says Q probably still has Picard's original heart. If you're going,
maybe
so.
With the one pierced by the Nausicaan blade.
That's right.
Yeah.
In that bar fight. Vince says thoughts on people that call it Star Trek. I'm not a huge fan, but it still bugs me. Same for people that say Weird Al Yankovic instead of Yankovic, I guess. It's kind of one of those things when you type it out, like I'm having to assume that you're just like, is it tomato or tomato? I used to say this thing to people where I was like, tomatoes, dude, whatever. And they're like, one guy actually stopped me. He goes, have you only seen that phrase written? And I was like, no, I'm making a joke. And he's like, oh, gotcha. But yeah, Weird Al Yankovic. But Star Trek, you know, I mean, it's one of those things when you get talking really fast and you stay Star Trek. Trek and track are really quick. Maybe some people just say it wrong and they just don't know.
Yeah, that could be.
It's Star Trek.
There's people in the world that say Warsh.
There are people that say Warsh.
Locally that say Warsh.
And by Warsh, we mean cleaning things with soap and water.
Yeah.
It's washing, but washing.
There's lots of people that say lots of things. That's
and
just
Walmart is plural. Walmarts.
Oh, no.
Going to the Walmarts.
There's actually people in real life that refer to all carbonated beverages as Coke. And I'd only read that before, and then
Carl's over here raising his hand.
I met people
saying he's like,
recently for the first time, and they're like, "Oh yeah, everything's Coke." I'm like, "Please die! Don't do that."
Our producer over here is Carl. He's raising his hand. He's like, "I'm one of those people." He's one of those people.
No, terrible. It doesn't make any sense.
It's a Southern thing.
Coke is no, it's not.
Vince says, "Yeah, in Alabama. Like I'm from Alabama. Everything's Coke in Alabama. Even Squirt and Sunkissed and
how does that even work? Oh, can I get me a Squirt flavored Coke? It's not. It's
just go. Well, what happens is they go.
What kind of
what do you
Cokes
want to drink? Yeah, you say, well, what kind of Coke you got?
No, awful. Hate that. Don't. No, that should never exist.
I'll have.
I feel like that's a Mandela effect thing. Because that's not real, and then now it is. Ever since they built this damn Hadron Collider,
I know the Large Hadron Collider is just deviating our timeline. Speaking of Coke, though, because it is the movie beverage of choice for not the what is the Pepsi, the generation, the flavor for a new generation, or whatever that old tagline was in like the 80s and 90s. Anyway, Coke has announced, this is news that I didn't even plan on talking about, Coke Zero is changing the formula. And I'm not okay with it.
Oh, are they going to have new Coke Zero and have to go to Coke Zero Classic?
I think so, because that's what's going to happen. Because you don't mess with the best. If you mess with the best, you die like the rest. What movie is that from? That's from Hackers, dude.
Several of them.
Zero cool. Where are my homies at?
Coke Zero makes me sick to my stomach. I hate that.
No, Coke Zero's awesome.
Hey, you know
what's wrong with you?
Before we move too far away from the movies and the violence brought on by them with you hacking and selling famous people, you know what today is? Today marks
Monday?
the anniversary of the debut of Tom and Jerry.
What's that have to do with the movies?
Because they used to show all the Looney Tunes ahead
true.
of films. Yep. 1941. It was their second animated short, and the first one they were referred to.
They fight and fight and fight.
Yeah, they were not given names,
fight,
but
fight,
they
fight.
were called Jinx and something, Jasper and Jinx. And in the second one, released today in 1941, they got the names of Tom and Jerry, and it stuck with them forever.
Forever. And two crappy CGI in real world movie things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ew.
But that's
Tom
a
and Jerry.
little bit of film whatnot.
But speaking of those old cartoons, Looney Tunes, we're going to be talking about Looney Tunes later in the show with Space Jam, which I went into the theater and saw. Sam also said in the comments over on Facebook, he said today is also Max Fleischer's birthday.
Oh,
so yeah, birthdays. It's always something. There's always a birthday.
Different kind of cartoons right there.
But let's a little bit, just a little bit. Let's talk about what's coming out in theaters this week before we start jumping into movies, because we got 3 movies we're going to talk about tonight. So we need to jump into this. There are 2 big budget releases coming out. A couple of small limited release movies that I'm gonna skip over. But there's a little Mark Wahlberg project and a little Megan Fox, Bruce Willis project. You're not.
Oh yeah, because the world's real hot on Megan Fox right now.
And Bruce Willis.
You see Megan Fox get in trouble for her saying really stupid things.
Well, which time?
Recently, like in the last couple of days.
Yeah, well, Google Megan Fox thumbs.
Toe thumbs.
That's right. Anytime Megan Fox thinks she's so cool, well, she got toe thumbs. So there you go. You think your poops don't stink? Well, you got toe thumbs. 2 movies.
Get some water to wash that doo-doo down, girl.
That's right. Flush it down. Get some of that water. The new film from director M. Night Shyamalan. Mr. Shyamalan coming out with a new film starring Gael Garcia Bernal, who normally doesn't take a whole lot of roles unless they're really well written, which, M. Night Shyamalan and well written, I usually don't say in the same sentence very often. But yeah, this movie, you've probably seen the trailers. It's called Old. Looks a little bit like Lost, but it's a thriller about a family on this tropical holiday. They're at this beach, kind of like the movie Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio, and not everything is as it seems. They relaxing for a few hours and find out that everybody's like aging rapidly. And, there's like a baby child that goes around the corner and comes back and it's like, I'm a full-ass grown-up. And they're like, ah! And then the full-ass grown-ups are like, I'm dying! And everybody's like, ah! and then I'm sure there's like a mystery, and it's all because there's like a Chevy pickup truck parked on the other side of the hedge or whatever, like that one movie, The Village or something, and then an alien like flops off and he goes, I don't like water, and or whatever.
How stupid the movies are. On the other side of the trees is the entire world, and it's modern, and they just never looked beyond the trees.
They didn't look past the shrubberies.
Yeah, a plane and helicopter just never happened to fly overhead ever, not even one
ever
time,
in the history of time.
Yeah.
That there's a God, I guess. Or yeah, it's just so stupid. Let's see. Vince says on Twitter, if you reply to his tweet about a weird vacation story or a movie poster company, we'll send you a poster from Old. I replied with the plot of the Brady Bunch Hawaiian Vacation. Oh, that's the one where Greg is like in the surfing competition and he finds that little like idol that is like super bad luck or whatever, and he keeps like crashing, and then they have to go on like this like, oh, this Mecca Hiney Ho idol, and then there's like hula dancing and a luau, and I just remember that spooky idol. And like, since when did
you were such a Brady fan, bro?
Hey man, I watched like the UFO episode of the Brady Bunch. It's like one of the best ones. But whoever thought that? How does Greg know how to surf so goddamn well? Like, that's what I'm saying. They're like landlocked in Middle America with a dumbass like Dad Brady's architecture flex house, and they never go anywhere but their AstroTurf backyard. And but somehow he's like a pro surfer and gets to like compete. Like, well, since we're here, let me just go ahead and compete in this surfing competition. Dude, Greg Brady, he and then there was another whole like vacation adventure where they went to Grand Canyon and other mysterious like, it was like Native American mess or something. I don't know. It's but anyway, the Brady Bunch Hawaiian Vacation Special is pretty dope. Yeah, shout outs to the Brady Bunch. You guys, did you not ever watch the Brady Bunch?
No, I never got into it, man. I thought Alice was cool, but other than that, I never really cared for Brady Bunch.
Your favorite character was Alice.
Whose favorite character isn't Alice?
I mean, Alice is pretty dope.
That's
But
all I'm saying.
I don't know.
I mean, who's gonna watch Brady Bunch and be like, oh, you know who's friggin' sick? The dad. No,
he
everyone's
was
like, oh yeah, Alice. She's kind of crotchety,
Alice
and
was
she has
cool.
to put up with everyone's crap.
Yeah, she was like underpaid labor.
Mm-hmm.
She was their maid. You realize that? Like, she was their servant, and she was all cool about it and stuff. And I mean, some serious caste system flex in the Brady Bunch there, and they're just like, yeah, we got all these kids, and then they adopt that other kid. Like, what was the little wiener kid's name that they get for like the last season? Somebody out there knows it. I at that point I was just like, okay, we don't need more kids, because now the whole balance of power. There was 3 girls and 3 boys. Oliver, thanks Vince. Like Oliver and his dumbass dog. Like, get out of here, Oliver.
Man,
like,
yeah, family sitcom things. I was watching Munsters and Addams Family. I watched Growing Pains.
oh yeah, who didn't? It was wasn't that character named Boner?
Yeah, Mike's. Mike Seaver's best friend. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like Boner, like in the late '80s, there was a lot of characters named Boner.
That's where Leo DiCaprio got his start. Was old Growing Pains.
Yeah, I watched a lot of like.
I watched Family Matters.
Oh, who didn't watch Family Matters? You know that Urkel has his own like weed line now?
I saw that Jaleel White was with Snoop Dogg promoting Purple Urkel.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about reefer, but I know
you do now.
That Jaleel White's just like, yeah, man, whatever gets me some
He's
money.
like,
did I do that?
Yeah, did I do that? Yeah, I could just see it now. Like somebody's totally tripping balls, and he's like, did I do that? And then doing the Urkel. Anyway, also coming out in theaters this week, other than Old from director M. Night Shyamalan, we have,
which is what we are talking about, all these TV shows.
The new film in the G.I. Joe verse, G.I. Joe spinoff centered around the character Snake Eyes, who, as far as I was concerned, was completely mute until this movie, and he's not. So, starring Henry Golding, of course, Samara Weaving, and others, directed by Robert Schwedtke.
Man.
And I don't know how I feel about it.
I don't know. Why is it Henry Golding? Why isn't it my boy Darth Maul?
Well, because he's not a great speaking actor. He's just a great physical
sure?
actor.
I mean, who knows?
I mean, Darth Maul didn't
Maybe it's
have a
just
lot of
because-
speaking lines, and I probably figured that's just because that's not his strong point.
I don't
I think
know.
backflips
Let's
and-
look for movies where Ray Parks is like talking.
Being a thespian.
He says some lines in X-Men, doesn't he, when he's Toad?
I think he went blah, like that was like all of his lines.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
maybe he's just not in it because of those weird workout, naked sex things that got leaked out. or
Oh, that's
whatever.
right. He had all
Yeah.
the sex tapes, the Darth Maul sex tapes.
No,
Why not though?
no, his phone got hacked or whatever.
What if
remember?
he gets in the bedroom and it's like a double-ended donger?
No,
and
we're
he's
done
just-
with this. We're totally done.
It's like it slides out the other
This
end.
is
He's
not
like,
the family-friendly content.
Yeah.
Not
It's
the,
like-
not the family-friendly content people watch this show for. Or it's like Chappelle Show episode where it's like, I smell your lightsaber.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Anyhow, yeah, I don't like that it's not Ray Parks. I definitely hate that, and also the idea of an origin for Snake Eyes kind of ruins the character of Snake Eyes because the
He's
whole
a
thing is that
mystery.
he's a guy behind a mask and he's the mystery, and you're not supposed to really know.
He's the wild card. You know, you're like, you never know what that guy's going to do.
Even if you do know his background, you're not supposed to see his face or know about
Hear his voice.
Yeah, you're not supposed to know about him. You're supposed to be like, oh, well, that's the training that Snake Eyes went through and stuff. And when you see him, he's all G.I. Joe black suited out.
It's essentially why Boba Fett's not cool anymore. It's because Boba Fett was this dude that didn't say anything. He's like nodding, doing the finger salute.
Yeah,
just
'cause-
cocking his gun.
Darth
rolling
Vader's like,
in.
don't disintegrate people, bro. That's
he-
not cool.
And he's like, like
Yeah.
that's it. You know, that's what makes him cool. And then now that he's like, oh, but my daddy and my Django and I have armor and my this and I'm gonna help you out and I like Baby Yodas. And you're like, okay, Boba Fett sucks now, and he's not cool. And
Now,
that's
to
what,
be fair, Boba Fett always sucked. That's why he got smacked into a Sarlacc.
well, he survived the Sarlacc, as we learned from the
Hate
Mandalorian.
that. No, hate it.
You know, it was a good scene. Snake Eyes, I just don't. I mean, I grew up watching GI Joe, like most people in that grew up in the late '80s, early '90s. I just don't. Yeah, I don't want to see this. I mean, I'm gonna see this because it's like stunts and action and whatever, and it's a movie that I'm gonna go see. I'll probably
Yeah,
see
I mean,
Old before Snake Eyes.
I'll
but,
probably watch Snake Eyes because I don't like weird, dumb, creepy movies.
Well, you think it's gonna be a scary one?
Before we get too far away from Star Wars, you see that Vince said that the guy that played Boner was Walter Koenig's son in real life?
No, I didn't see. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. The things you
How
know.
about that? Yeah, Star Wars.
And
Walter
he killed
Koenig.
himself. He also put that one up.
Well, I wasn't going to bring us down with that part.
Let's see. Sam says Boba Fett was distracted by the Jedi rock and stuck in his head. And that's why he got murked in Jedi. And it was just like, no, that was Lopty Neck. Jedi Rock was the one where the CGI Muppet. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, it was bad. But anyway, Snake Eyes coming out in theaters this weekend alongside of Old. You can check those out in a theater near you. If it's your local AMC, I reinstalled Twitter for the first time in like the entire pandemic just so I could tweet to AMC and gripe about our local AMC theater. Because like
I used it to bitch at Sea of Thieves when we thought everything was going to be Jack Sparrow.
man, I'm so mad at AMC. I mean,
Hey, I
that's what
don't
Twitter's for.
like. I'm not hot on our local AMC.
Our local AMC has dropped the ball. When they renovated everything, they got them new seats, that new concession stand, opened that bar. It was like the place to be, and it was good. And we had the app, and we did all the things, and had a good time, and the movies were cool, and the staff acted like they cared. And now none of those things. I roll up in there, and went to the concession stand, as I do. If you guys know me, I like to get concession stand food. Planned my whole evening around. Gonna go watch Space Jam. Gonna get like a flatbread pizza, and we're up there at the counter, and I'm like, I'll have a large beverage and a flatbread pizza. And they go, I think our oven's down. And I go, okay, that's fine. I'll not have a flatbread pizza. I'll just have the soda. Thank you. And then I get the soda, go to the soda, and I push the soda button, and it's like, not working correctly, error.
It sounds like every time you go there, you got a bad snack experience.
Yeah, and then I got a seat in the theater, and I'm like, man, I'm hungry. We're hungry. And I was like, let's go get some mozzarella sticks. So I'm like, okay, can't get pizza. Mozzarella sticks that's a good second.
Oven's still broke, dude.
They fry them. They have an oven and a fryer. I go up there and I'm like, I'll have some mozzarella sticks, please. Maybe some chicken tenders. And they go, I think our fryer's broken too. And I'm like, is there anything that's not broken here?
Have you turned them on?
Like, well, when I walked up to the concession stand, like the two people there, I mean, this is not, an empty theater. And one of them is just like staring into space and the other one's sitting down drawing a picture on a piece of paper. And I'm like, guys, you're at work. Like, stop coloring.
I bet they love that.
No, I didn't say that, but I'm like, I had to go, excuse me, please stop coloring and come over here. Like, what the hell, AMC?
Do like Sam said, just have delivery food brought to the theater.
Well, that's what I tweeted at AMC. I was like, would you guys be mad if I just ordered Domino's to the theater? Because that's where I was at. And you know me. You know I do that shit. I would Spicoli a pizza up into AMC real fast. And
Hey, here we go, right here.
There you go. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that I will go out of my way to buy the food there. But if you don't got it, I'm getting my food.
And then here comes Mr. Hand, manager of the theater, and just what do you think you're doing? Oh, having a pizza and watching a movie.
Exactly. And I was like, dude, your pizza oven's broken, dude, so had to get my pie on, bro.
Wow.
Because I planned my whole dinner around eating at AMC, and then they failed me. And the bar wasn't even open. Open your bar. Like,
That's
if
true.
I can't have pizza, can I at least get drunk?
Bo did bring several servings of a he brought several full Thanksgiving dinners to
Those
a
two
movie
Thanksgiving
theater.
dinners.
Oh, I thought you had at least 3.
No, it was 2. I had turkey and cranberry sauce and stuffing and green beans and rolls. And what was that when we went and saw Die Hard?
Yeah.
I smuggled that in. Oh, yeah, Vince. You guys brought the Thanksgiving dinner to Die Hard. Yeah. No. And then I think I smuggled an entire deep dish bacon wrap pizza when Little Caesars first introduced that because it was square. And then I had like a Tupperware device that like wintertime is the best time to smuggle food.
Because you're bringing the blankets in because everyone
You
brings a little
got your
little
coat,
blankets.
you got your blanket, and you
got
just like
your
carry it in.
snuggies
and it's
in the
just-
theater.
Yeah, you just drape it over your food. And you're like, sir, why do you smell like a delicious bacon wrapped pizza? And you're like, well, thank you. And yeah, it's just me. Anyway, I was really disappointed in that. But I did go see some movies. I guess I'll jump into Fear Street since you saw a film, and then I'll end with Space Jam because that's the one in theaters.
We'll do our 2 Netflixes and then the HBO afterward. How about that? They're all streaming service movies.
Well, Space Jam was actually on HBO Max as well. I think it was
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Fear Street and Dynasty Warriors are Netflix, and Space Jam's on.
Yeah, and Netflix
HBO.
is saying that they're wanting to double down on more big budget movies. So expect to see a lot more from Netflix and kind of big studio style movies. But anyway,
Vince's comment. You're saying bacon wrap pizza, but all I'm hearing is diarrhea.
well, the problem was it was from Little Caesars, and I know there's probably some Little Caesars fans out there, but their sauce tastes like. And I don't have a way to say this that doesn't make me sound creepy, but it tastes like blood and like kind of like pennies, like very metallic, and like maybe there's blood in the sauce, or maybe it's just the pizza that I got. I don't know.
Little Caesars tastes like you got punched in the mouth.
It kind of does. Punch in the mouth with flavor, but not the good kind of flavor. But anyway. Yeah, so Fear Street, 1666. If you've been watching the past 3 episodes of Drive-In Speakerbox, last week I talked about Fear Street 1978, and before that I talked about Fear Street 1994. They've been released once a week. This is the final chapter that was released this last weekend. Takes place, it goes back in time using the same cast, very much a la sort of American Horror Story, which is kind of cool because you get to see like actors acting because you get this contrast of these characters playing 2 different roles in the same whatever, which is kind of cool. But I will say that of the three, this was kind of my least favorite. It was kind of the weakest. And, there was the MacGuffin at the end, the whole reveal of what was going on and trying to, fix that up. But the whole time that it took place in 1666, where there's, pilgrim settlers and then, of course, a witch. Like, they made the whole thing about, like, fear of lesbians, and it was like these two girls were smooching and in the marigolds, and then one guy saw it and it was like, witches, lesbians, let's hang them and burn them, and then like the whole movie became about like this forbidden lesbian smooch that like condemned a whole city, and
two girls smooching in the marigolds, and a guy sees it. Witches.
Yeah, dude, pilgrims were stupid. He should have just like been like, and then he invented Pornhub. It's like, this is cool. Like, I don't know.
Wow,
like,
also not the direction
but you guys
go.
Way cooler, like applauding it and spectating, other than like lynching them from trees, wouldn't you say? We can support that. But anyway, it like the 1666 time period piece just felt really forced and hurried, and like they didn't have a good scary way of creating this character. So instead they did what everybody's doing right now, and the main bad guy becomes like a sympathetic good guy because there's an even more bad guy that's like a dude that just hates people, and because he's
like Black Widow,
and then of course the dude, like, it's the hatred passed down from generation to generation, and it's secretly the bad guy is the
genetic.
Yeah, apparently, it's passed on. It ain't heritage. Sam says 1666 nostalgia is so overdone these days. And, I will say, but once they kind of figured it out, it was like this big flashback memory, this whole first half of this movie to one of the main characters. And she's like, she wakes up from the 1666 vision. She's like, I saw it all from everyone's point of view, even though I was only from the point of view of whatever, but let's not try and explain that at all. But I know all the secrets, and then it comes back to 1994, and then they, fix the problem, and everything ends somewhat happily ever after. Lot of open-ended problems with how much just like wanton murder happened when the main bad guy that they think is happening is actually not a bad guy. And it's like, well, then why would you allow all this murder to happen for innocent people that if you weren't like whatever. I'm not going to argue with horror mechanics here, but it just didn't end on like the note that I was hoping it would. And of course, like post-credit scene, it's the whole end, the end question mark, which is all horror movies these days. It's like, well, we fixed it, but then a hand comes out of the dirt, or the ancient relic that unleashes all the evil. You see someone take it, and you don't see who, and just
wasn't the point of this being the trilogy already was because they were trying to avoid doing like an extended universe type thing? Isn't that what you had said a couple weeks back?
No, I don't necessarily think it was about trying to get an extended universe. It was just trying to tell like a contained narrative. They had planned making 3, because there was a lot of story they wanted to tell. And honestly, the first 2 kind of work. I thought they were kind of fun. This last one, I just wasn't as into, and I kind of got a little bit bored through it. But there's some pretty fun kills. They do a weird, like almost highlight reel at the end of all the kills. They're like, remember all this, and it's just like, and that was kind of neat because you're like, oh yeah, there was one really good kill where they put this chick's head through a bread slicer, and it's just like, and it like comes out like Play-Doh in one of those like Play-Doh presses, but it's like head, and it's pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Anyway.
What y'all know about early industrial revolution machinery?
Oh, no, that was in the 1990s. It was
I thought you were talking about the 1666 one.
No, they didn't like make her into sausage or anything. That would have been pretty cool, though. They're like, they put her in a butter churn and like churned her to death or whatever. And it's just like, ow, 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 ow. Stop, you're going to die. Ow, ow, ow.
Yeah. Just for forever.
Just churning her for 6 days and 7 nights until she turned to butter. I mean, whatever. Anyway, it's in Netflix. You can watch it. The trilogy's all out there for you to consume. Its content. I feel like it's gonna get forgotten about. Unlike other sort of horror anthologies that have withstood the test of time,
like Leprechaun.
Yes, like Leprechaun. Yes. Okay.
Or Are You Afraid of the Dark, which Sam says you can watch on Paramount Plus.
Well, there's a new series of Are You Afraid of the Dark that's out there,
gross.
and it's like whatever. Anyway, yeah. Okay. Well, Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah, Dynasty Warriors.
Talk about that.
Let's talk about some Dynasty Warriors. How about that? It's the new Romance of the Three Kingdoms movie. There's a lot of those. They've been making them since 1905. Romance Three Kingdoms have been popular for like 700 years and ain't slowing down anytime soon. And it's out there. I don't know, man. It's kind of hard to say. It's not a bad movie, but it's not as good as the other Romance of the Three Kingdoms movies that we've gotten in recent times. Like the Resurrection of the Dragon with Andy Lau, the Lost Bladesman with Donnie Yen as Guan Yu, with Red Cliff, directed by John Woo, which is sick, even though they make Cao Cao the bad guy, which they do in Resurrection
They made
of the
Cao
Dragon.
Cao the bad guy. Cao Cao's your boy.
They always make Cao Cao the bad guy.
But he's your boy.
He's my boy. And this movie isn't really that different. So it starts out the same way that all the Dynasty Warriors games do, which is the Yellow Turban Rebellion at the fall of the Han Dynasty. And you have the rise of the heroes and villains of the new age to come of the Three Kingdoms period. You have Dong Zhuo, who's there to fight the Yellow Turbans, and the introduction of everyone's friggin' golden boy, Liu Bei, with his sworn brothers of Zhang Fei and Guan Yu, and they're established as the main characters and the heroes of the story. And in following that, from afar, you're introduced to Cao Cao and how he is there to protect and preserve the Han Dynasty and Empire. Unfortunately, Dong Zhuo is the one that receives glory and tries to take over the Empire, and it is semi-successful there. And so the basis of this movie is the joining of forces of all of the generals to combat Dong Zhuo and his takeover of the remainder of the Han Dynasty. And you have the emerging heroes of Cao Cao, Liu Bei, Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, Sun Jian, Sun Ce, Sun Quan, and Lu Bu and others.
Lu Bu. You hate Lu Bu.
I'm not a big Lu Bu fan. And Lu Bu's the big bad in this one. Lu Bu and Dong Zhuo are like the combined big bad in this, because it's all introductions to what are probably the more interesting stories as told in these other movies from Dynasty Warriors and Romance of the Three Kingdoms. So you don't get as much out of the story as what you'd want. They kind of established Cao Cao as like a kind of a villain, but kind of a hero. He's like an anti-hero type guy who is willing to sacrifice anything and everything for the betterment of China. But Liu Bei is like, kind of like that, but more pussyfooting around type character, where he's not willing to bend the rules to do anything, kind of a deal.
So my question is, when do they get to chopping up hundreds of thousands of people?
Instantly.
Okay, just want to make sure that that's there.
So it introduces them, and it's playing the shredding guitar from Dynasty Warriors. Guan Yu and Zhang Fei come in, and they
on horses.
They do their superpower moves where they just knock up like 30 people into the air and then just slice through all of them. So you get to see some Dynasty Warrior stuff, some Muso moves.
Yeah.
And then later on, they say that Lu Bu, Cao Cao, and the Shu Boys all wander into this forest, and they're bestowed super powerful weapons upon each of them. So that's how Lu Bu has his halberd. That's how Liu Bei gets his twin swords. Guan Yu has his dragon glaive, and Zhang Fei has his serpent tongue ended double-bladed weapon, which I wasn't a fan of. Yeah. I wasn't a fan of Zhang Fei and Liu Bei getting two-handed, two double blades. But those are things that were introduced in the games. They got their iconic weapons. They eventually work into their iconic looks. Everything except Guan Yu's beard is nowhere near as epic as ever told in any story. They make it thin and weird. I hated that. But you get the looks of the characters. You get the Muso attacks of the characters. Some of it's a bit over the top. Definitely more wire fu inspired than video game inspired. But a lot of it does come across as a video game, which is fun. And they do have elemental attacks, which is part of the games, but not as much as they really focused on in this movie. Mm-hmm. And then you get things that are pretty interesting. Some of it's a disservice and some of it's a fan service. Like red hair isn't very special, despite the fact they talk about red hair being special. The weapons look cool, but some of the moves they do are kind of dumb. But a lot of it does look like a lot of the video games. Unfortunately, some of it's taken from the later games in the series that aren't as popular, like 7, 8, and 9. And 9 is absolute garbage, and everyone knows that. So instead of taking from the ones that are good, like 2 or 4, as much as they should have, they really kind of focused on a point of the story that was more introduction than something that could have been epic. And they tried to make it too over the top video game without including any of the parts that would really help someone be like, yeah, that's the part of it that I really like. So it's a fun movie. You get parts of Romance of the Three Kingdoms that you normally don't get to see in movies. From the early portions of it, the early chapters of Romance of the Three Kingdoms, like Cao Cao's slaughtering of the family of Lu Boshi on accident, and that's kind of, they try to make Cao Cao into like a bad guy, but at that part, but the rest of it, he's like the most loyal and the most honorable, and he's like really the one that's making everything work for everybody. But then they turn right back around and try and make Liu Bei like the hero. So it's not clear on who they want to be the hero. And they really set it up as an introduction. They bring in Diao Chan at the end for Lu Bu to have conflict with Dong Zhuo, but they never resolve that. And it all just says, and so begins the Three Kingdoms at the end of it.
And then does anyone get chopped up? I think that's what this movie's about. It's about just chopping up peoples.
Yeah, I mean, you get to see just hordes and hordes of soldiers laying on the ground.
Boo and Choms.
Yeah, the Battle of Hulao Gate isn't near as epic as it should be. It ends up
I just want to see people get chopped up with swords and horses and whirlwind powers.
Yeah, it's not as much there as you would want it to be. Everyone always fights to a standstill, and it's a focus on
Does anybody do this? With the hand move, for those of you that aren't watching the video, because I hate that. I hate movies where they do a thing, they stick their hand out, and they go, "Come here, wah wah." Don't do that. They did that shit in Space Jam.
There's a section of it that's all these different generals dueling with Hua Xiong, and until Guan Yu defeats him, and so they kind of do it at that because it's very much like. In Troy, me, bro. Yeah, it's like in Troy with what's his name, Achilles. It's kind of like that type thing, but it's just duel after duel, and Hua Xiong is just winning all of them, and then Guan Yu's like, I'm gonna end it.
Well,
so there's some good parts, but for the most part, it operates as just an introduction into Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which could have been really good if they would have left the video game elements out of it.
Why don't we just get a Romance of the Three Kingdoms show?
There's a lot of Romance of the Three Kingdoms shows out of there. They just did one a couple years ago, but most of it sticks to China. Yeah, that would be good. I think that, but we'll see if they continue to make them. Maybe we'll get
zombies.
Maybe we'll get some more story out of it.
With Gaijin, Gaiju, or what are they called? Those big monsters.
Kaiju.
That's what I said.
I might be completely biased because obviously I love Romance of the Three Kingdoms and the stories there.
No.
Yeah. But so if you're new to it, the introduction of all these characters, it might be worth it to you. But for me, it was kind of a really lackluster portrayal of some of the characters and the events, like the Battle of Hulao Gate and things like that. That could have been a lot cooler, but
And this is on Netflix?
it's on Netflix. It's not
on
bad.
Netflix.
I'm not telling you not to watch it. You should. It's only 2 hours long.
I feel like I just did.
But yeah, there, there you go. It's out there. It's something.
All right. Well, we've got a little bit of time left, and I'm going to talk to you about Space Jam. This is what you've been waiting for.
Oh, Sam, hold on. Sam asked if it's in top 5 video game adaptations. If we're looking at it strictly as a video game adaptation instead of more based on the novel like they tried to do mostly, yeah, probably. It's a way better video game adaptation than any of the Tomb Raiders or Mario or any of that nonsense. So,
Carl asks, what movie would you recommend for party boys?
Bachelor Party.
I don't know. It doesn't age well. Like party boys? Like, what kind of party are we doing? What kind of what's that movie that was like Take Me Home Tonight? That was a pretty fun party movie. Kind of an 80s fun party. It was not
With Topher Grace?
with Topher Grace. That was a pretty fun movie.
That's a good soundtrack.
Or what was that? That was a terrible movie that I saw in theaters. It was called like Project X or something, and it was about a big house party.
Yeah.
And it was a dude with like a flamethrower
At
and
the
meth.
end, the guy they
and,
pissed off.
It was whatever.
What's that movie about the 21st birthday? It has Miles Teller and
I mean, there's a bunch of
it's his friend's 21st birthday, and they get him
super drunk
and everything.
Party where someone's like, oh my gosh, I had a liquor taste and now I'm crazy, or like I'm a huge geek and now I'm touching on all the boobs. And I mean, that's like all those movies where it's like the fat guy, it's like, I'm secretly a party animal, saying it like Sam says, super bad.
I see. That's where I was thinking as soon as you started saying stuff like that. I'm gonna stick with it. Bachelor Party. Who cares how it aged? Do that.
Well, anyway, Space Jam, before we run completely out of time, Space Jam, the new movie, of course, the sequel to the 1996 original film with Michael Jordan. This is a sequel that's, 20 some odd years too late, that no one asked for, really. I mean, 90s nostalgia is coming back pretty hard right now in pop culture. So they figured, why not? They've got
not from anybody that actually lived through the 90s.
I mean, it's like better times, I guess. I mean, I went on a little 90s nostalgia kick about a month ago, or in the pandemic, I was watching these old 90s movies, and I was like, the 90s was a different time. But Space Jam: A New Legacy, you've got LeBron James, clearly not anywhere up to surpassing the acting chops of Michael Jordan or anyone for that matter. I mean, he's clearly not an actor. He's a basketball player. And I figure whoever the producers were, just like in the original Space Jam, are like, we don't need this many bad actors, so we're going to cast his family with actors because we need at least some people that can act.
Well, and the messed up thing there is LeBron James has been in several movies. He's been in like 3, 4, 5 movies as like a speaking role part,
and he's still,
but he doesn't have near the personality or interview skills or anything that Michael Jordan had that made it where he was passable as some sort of character actor in
other
the
than a guy
Space
that's
Jam.
just like, I like basketball.
Yeah, because
play basketball.
At least
fundamentals.
Michael Jordan had personality.
Michael Jordan could sell those underwear, and it took some personality to sell those. Was it? It's Hanes.
Yeah. Well, and the thing from that is that Space Jam spawned from the commercial he ran with Bugs Bunny. Everyone's like, hey, there's some chemistry here.
We
can make something happen. This one, they're just like, remember when we did Space Jam? Well, what if we did a really
do it again?
Stupid version of that.
And, it's like kids these days. This movie, I feel like the biggest problem that this movie had is instead of making a movie that's a sequel to something that people that grew up watching Space Jam, who are now adults, can enjoy, they're like, well, let's just try and capture the same thing that we did with the first Space Jam with a new generation of people that don't give any shit about Space Jam and aim it at kids. And it's like, these kids don't care about Looney Tunes. These kids don't care about Space Jam. This is not a thing. They barely care about LeBron. I mean, LeBron's a great basketball player, but he's not Michael Jordan.
He's not
Michael Jordan had cartoon shows before this ever, before Space Jam ever
And
happened.
a video game where he had fire and ice
Yeah,
basketballs.
like it was already a thing, and it's just this big hard retrofit, and it was just so forced. And another thing that this movie lacked that the original Space Jam had in spades was just cameos from people that you want to see. You had Charles Barkley, you had Larry Bird, who were super, super famous, not just for sports, but they had transcended sports and became celebrities in their own right.
Patrick Ewing and Muggsy Bogues.
You had Bill Murray, of course, playing himself, which was a lot of fun. Wayne Knight was in this movie. I mean, there was just a lot of people that you wanted to see on screen. And in this film, Don Cheadle tried his damnedest, but as much as I like Don Cheadle, even I got tired of watching him on screen. I'm like,
who decided he was going to be a bad guy? No,
he's pretty fun as a bad guy. Like there's a show, I cannot remember the name of the show, where he plays this like it's like Suits or something, and he's essentially a bad guy. And anyway, Don Cheadle's cool. I really like Don Cheadle.
In the Funny or Die videos, he plays a dickhead version of Captain Planet, which is pretty good.
It's pretty good. But by the time that Don Cheadle became Don CG Idol, it was like really weird and awkward. There's a lot of hokey CGI in this film that just landed kind of flat. And this new one really tried super hard to be kind of Ready Player One, because they didn't have the jokes. They didn't have a plan for this movie, so they're like, let's just reference as much Warner Brother content as we can. So we're in this Warner-verse, which it's not outer space, it's not whatever, it's just we're trapped in Warner Brothers hard drives of we're trapped in Warner Plus streaming service, and so there's like
HBO Max.
Yeah, they're trapped inside of it, and there's like Harry Potter shit everywhere, and there's like DC shit everywhere, and then there's King Kong's running around, and they're like, oh, don't forget Iron Giant, and then you look in the background, and it's also like, oh, we're flying through Wizard of Oz. Everybody knows that, right? And they're like, oh, there's the Mad Max scene. The Mad Max scene actually wasn't so bad. Everyone's like, I can't even believe they did a Mad Max Fury Road scene, but it was like, no one told me it was a Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner scene, which totally fits. And so Roadrunner's like going really fast, and then Wile E. Coyote's like chasing him in a big motor car, and he's dressed as one of those like white-faced dudes, and he gets a can of spray paint, sprays his mouth, and holds up a sign that says "Witness me," and he like tries to jump over the Roadrunner and murder it, and it was pretty good. With that said, there are some pretty funny parts where Looney Tunes actually kind of feel like Looney Tunes for a hot minute, and then there's a point in the movie where Don Cheadle CGIs the Looney Tunes. It's like, no, it's time to upgrade you, and it's about halfway through the movie, and it's hilarious at how they didn't understand. They understood but didn't understand what they were doing at the same time, because like the Looney Tunes are going through the CGI transformation and being like, ew, I hate it, I'm ugly, this doesn't feel right, and it's gross, and what did you do to me? And I'm sitting here as an audience member going, yeah, what did they do? This is awful, and it's terrible, and you look like shit. And then they do the rest of the half of the movie, and at the end they turn back into Looney Tunes cartoons, but they had no business being CGI. It was absolutely awful seeing them as CGI, and it made a lot of the cartoon humor fall flat again, because a part of sort of Looney Tunes classic Warner Brother animated humor is just like ridiculous sized anvils like getting dropped on people's heads, and like your accordion necks, and Tweety birds and teeth falling out, and it doesn't look really good as CGI. It's something that just pen and paper style drawing makes that a lot more fun and funny, because it's tunes. It is tunes, and like Roger Rabbit, it's that kind of violence in a CGI thing is just doesn't feel right, I guess, in a 3-dimensional sort of setting. So when they became these 3D models, it started to get really, really weird, and then cringy. Everybody's seen Porky Pig rapping on the internet, Notorious P.I.G., and it was just. It just kept getting weirder and weirder and weirder, and then they did something that drives me absolutely nuts, and you've heard me say it on the show. It's when a movie creates its own world and its own rules, but doesn't follow them. And so there's this big game. Of course, everything has to be solved through basketball, and the LeBron and his son are having problems, because he doesn't understand his son. His son wants to make video games, and LeBron's just like, playing basketball is going to fix all your problems and do what your dad did. And the son, it's about family and bonding. And anyway, his son makes this video game that's like, it's basically NBA Jam with more power-ups, where you can like get on fire and have all these style points and flips and stuff. And anyway, like,
I wonder how his real family feels about his movie Fake Family.
Who cares, honestly? But in the movie, the bad guys, the Goon Squad, they're like 1,000 points ahead, and because all you got to do is just like jump on a springboard, turn something into fire, and do a little dance and make a basket, and it's like 250 points. And then the Looney Tunes are like, LeBron's trying to force them to like play by the fundamentals, when really all they need to be is be themselves and be loony. And then they're like, well, now that we can use our loony powers, then what's up, Doc? And they start making 500-point baskets and stuff.
How many times does he flop on the court and wait for a referee to stop the game?
Once. No, he didn't, but he should have.
Well, then it's very unrealistic.
But then they're scoring these 400-point baskets. And then at the end of the movie, somehow they're only capable of scoring 1-point baskets. It's like, well, if this is such a dramatic thing, why is just score one of your 500-point baskets like you did for the last half hour? Why is everything now just a 1-point situation when you got more fireballs and spring shots and dynamites? And like, everything just felt like it was so hurried and just trying to be something that had already happened, and that we didn't need more of. And there's not enough references in the world to other things that have already existed to make it fun enough to want to, carry that whole movie. So I don't know. I miss the Looney Tunes. There was some great Bugs Bunny moments. There was some great Daffy moments. Marvin the Martian had a really good stint in there.
How is it that they explain the basketball part? Because in original Space Jam, the thing is that the Monstars, before they're the Monstars, are just the little twerps, and they're like, oh, well, what are tiny, no-legged, no-armed people going to be terrible at? Basketball. They're like, you're challenged to basketball. So it's like it had a way to make sense. And like, well, we got to go get the best basketball player. They were in
there. Those little wormy guys. They were in there for like a hot second.
But how does basketball come into this one? They're like, hey, remember that time where we did basketball? Let's just do that again.
Well, they made a lot of references where they're like, we got to solve this from basketball, and Bugs Bunny kind of looks at the camera and goes, sounds familiar. And
but does it even make sense why the problem is being solved with basketball? Because in the first movie, at least there was justification for it.
It's all about the internet, and it's Don Cheadle's an evil algorithm that's trying to take over the internet with the streaming service and CGI clone LeBron James and have him starring in all these movies that Warner Brothers is going to own. And so he's like, oh, I'm going to beat LeBron at his own game, because Don Cheadle thinks that he can, cheat and win because he rules the internet space as this algorithm. But then through power of family and heart and Looney Tunes, they beat him at the game that he thought he had rigged. And then, yeah, whatever, dude. There you go. I mean, Space Jam. There wasn't even any Quad City DJs. There wasn't get it to the jam. It's the Space Jam. There was none of that. There was
no Fly Like an Eagle.
There was only one moment with the y'all ready for this? You got to have some jock jams if you're gonna have a movie about basketball. Jock jams and basketball to this day still go hand in hand.
But no Basketball Jones.
No Basketball Jones.
Anything from the original soundtrack.
There was some dubstep stuff that was not good, but I don't know. It kind of messed me up a little bit, because I was wanting some good Looney Tunes humor, because I really, really like Looney Tunes. And like I said, I will say that some of the Roadrunner and Coyote moments in this movie were some of the strongest, because they don't say anything and they have to rely on Looney Tunes style physical humor and not being sort of Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane animated humor, where it's like, let's make fun of something that's only relevant right this second. And, which was mostly Porky Pig, mostly, a lot of Bugs Bunny, a lot of Foghorn Leghorn. When Foghorn Leghorn flew a dragon dressed as Daenerys Targaryen, I was just like, okay, all right, we're done here. But then there was also Bugs Bunny, like in the first 5 minutes, became like, what was it? Big Chungus.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
Chungus is in the movie?
For like 2 seconds. Bugs Bunny says something and turns into Big Chungus.
If he can become Chungus, why didn't he just do that in the game and win? Because you can't defeat Chungus. The only being that can hope to compete with Chungus is Shaggy.
Well, Chungus was in it for 2 seconds. James says he says R. Kelly was off limits, I guess. Yeah, they were believing they could fly, but R. Kelly was not there to help them touch the sky. He's canceled. Him and R. Kelly and Pepe Le Pew had to sit on the sidelines for
was
the
Pepe
Space
Le Pew in this movie?
No, but he could have been.
Canceled.
Honestly, they could have stuck him with all the other dumbass jokes they were doing and inappropriate characters that were being referenced in the background. There was a lot of like 1966 Batman characters all over the place, which was kind of weird. And then a lot of Batman characters. There was like 1991 Penguin. Danny DeVito's Penguin was there. And there was Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, except for, of course, it wasn't Arnold. It was like all these other like shitty cosplayers that they went to a Comic-Con and were like, okay, you, and you. You want to be in Space Jam? And they're like, yeah.
Well, if they had DeVito's Penguin, they should have had DeVito come back because he was the bad guy in the first Space Jam.
I know, but he wasn't in the movie. So anyway, Space Jam: A New Legacy. It's out there, and it's also on HBO Max if you want to check that out. Honestly, like, I'm glad I went and saw it in the theater because I like going to the theater, and there were some funny parts. I did laugh a handful of times in the theater because Looney Tunes are funny, and as long as they're allowed to be Looney Tunes. I was really surprised I didn't see more Animaniacs. They were just like in a corner somewhere, and I was like, oh, it's the Animaniacs. They are funny. Let's get them in there. But yeah, there you go. So Space Jam: New Legacy, sequel to the 1996 classic. If you want to play the Space Jam pinball, we have it right now at Pinpoint in Northwest Arkansas here in Fayetteville. Got that on the lineup. So anyway, that's all about Space Jam. You got any other things? I mean, we've already gone 10 minutes over. So
no. There's a new really bad Space Jam video game available on your Xbox.
Ew.
Yeah, it's not fun.
I'm okay with that. Also, all the basketball players that they got were very terrible at like voicing their characters. It was
Anthony Davis and who?
Just some other people. I already closed my window. They're like sports people of right now. So Carl says good plug. So anyway, we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Find us over on the Facebook, the Twitches, and the YouTube. You can subscribe to the audio version of this podcast over wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Tuned In, whatever you do. You can ask, I think you can ask your smart speaker to play the Drive-In Speakerbox podcast. And if you are searching for it, don't forget that there is a hyphen in there at Drive-In. So anyway, I'm Bo, the Boom Operator.
I'm Jake the Grip.
We will see you guys next week, and we'll be talking about that one. I think, what, are you going to go see Snake Eyes? And I'm probably going to go see Old. So tune in for that. We'll see you guys later.